Often when you're working on a budget, you're forced to shoot in small spaces. And usually, we don't want these small spaces to look small on camera. So generally, we use wider focal lengths. Place objects closer to and further from the camera. And make use of light and shadow to create depth in the frame. This can prevent the image from being too flat and hide the fact that the space we're shooting in isn't very big. But let's take a quick look at this shot, which we used in an ad for Audio Socket, which I've linked in the description. And what we did here was actually the opposite of how we would usually emulate a larger space within a smaller one, by using a longer focal length and a lot of light. So in the context of the ad, we have our actress dressed Victorian-esque, looking a little more upper class, intercut with shots of her in the mirror, putting on makeup and admiring herself. Luckily, living in a Victorian seaside town in the UK, it was easy enough to get our outdoor locations appropriate for the shoot. But for the indoor shots, we were shooting in a small, modern apartment, not an elaborate Victorian building. The bathroom was an especially tight squeeze, with a very limited amount of space for lights, the actress, me, and the camera. Since we wanted the room to appear larger and more elaborate on camera, to better match our character and locations, we needed to position the camera in a suitable place. If we had shot from this angle, the mirror would have been reflecting the wall and towel rack, which wasn't going to do a very good job of hinting toward a larger space. So we placed the camera on the opposite side, when a mirror would be reflecting down the hallway. We set up our lighting roughly and did a test shot using a 50mm lens. But we weren't happy with the shot. Although the lighting wasn't even quite how we wanted it yet, we could already see that the composition wasn't suitable. We did have the back of our actress in frame to create some foreground depth in the shot, but at this angle, at this focal length, we could see too much of the wall, which was flattening out the image. We also weren't too keen on the darker blue walls, as they felt distracting and conflicting with our lighter, paler palette, and they just made everything feel that little bit more cramped in. We couldn't change our angle, as this was the only position where we would have our actress appear in the mirror, properly composed with the hallway background. Essentially, we needed to get rid of this wall, so that our focus could just be on this section of the image, along with the preferred colour palette being contained in the mirror. If you think about it, the mirror is actually like a window. All the depth we can get out of the room is contained within it. So that's where our focus and composition need to go. The final composition was shot at around 100mm. You can see at this focal length we were able to shoot entirely within the mirror, removing the distracting elements of the room and the wall, which was drawing attention to the fact that the space is small. By only showing what the mirror is reflecting, we've effectively extended the size of the room. By only showing the hallway, which is further away than the wall which the mirror hangs on. And although shooting at a longer focal length has somewhat compressed our image, bringing the background hallway a little closer to us, we still can't really tell how close or far this background is to our actress, due to that compression. You would never assume that a long lens had been used in such a small space. Whether you notice that consciously as a filmmaker, or feel it subconsciously as a viewer whilst watching the video. This gives the viewer the subtle feeling of space. Let's turn all of our lights off one by one, and then turn them back on again, to see how we've emphasised the feeling of a well-lit room. You can see we already had some natural daylight falling onto our background, but our bathroom was pitch black as there were no windows in this room. Our key light was a Litepanels Gemini 1x1 soft LED panel, bounced into the white tiles of the bathroom shower area. Using a soft panel, we were able to spread the light into this corner to create a large source, representing a big window to our actress's left. Had the white tiling not been there, we could have hung some white material in the corner instead. Our second light was a Litepanels Astra 6X, shot with a Snapbag or softbox, just behind and to our actress's left. This light acted as a fill light on the face, bouncing from the mirror, to further increase the apparent size of our window. But it also worked as a hair light and an eye light, giving us that overall brighter look. Our third light was a Godox SL152, shot through a large 47-inch Octabox, just around the corner of the hallway, shining in, to provide a large soft light to the hallway background. We can either see this as an extension to our window key light, lighting up more of the background and increasing the size of this imaginary window, or another window further back in the frame. Our fourth and final light was in the deep background, down the hall and in the next room. This was a Nanlight Forza 500, reflector dish attached, shot into a sheet of unbleached muslin material. This provided our image with a final obfuscation of the environment, hiding the dark end of the hallway with bright light, and tying in our hair light, key, and hallway light, as well as just the whole feeling of a large window lighting the scene. Now objectively, we have more depth to our image with our background darker. Our actress is popping out more from the background, and the image looks more three-dimensional. Even with just the very background light off, we have that little bit of depth and separation from our actress. But when we light a scene, we also need to think about context. We knew that this Victorian-esque section of the video only needed to be 30 seconds long, and as such, we would be cutting pretty quickly between shots and scenarios. In the final edit, we dedicate only 6 seconds to our bathroom mirror shots, followed by a third shot that only lasts around 1 second. So we wanted to demonstrate a large window lighting a room larger than the space we were shooting in an extremely small amount of time, as the scene isn't on screen for long. So instead of thinking in purely technical terms of depth and dimensionality, we wanted to demonstrate this feeling of space and light in more abstract terms, so it could come across quickly to the viewer. So along this line of thinking on absorbing the information in an abstract way, quickly, think about an abyss of darkness. It feels closed in and claustrophobic. Think about an expanse of bright light. It feels big and open. And that's exactly the kind of quick assessment you may make subconsciously when viewing the scene at this pace. After all, you're probably not envisioning a cramped room of this size. Sometimes, you need to do things the technically wrong way to achieve the right feelings for your work. Patrons get a full breakdown of how we lit the audio socket ad, along with a bunch of other breakdowns and extra content. Last week on Patreon, we took a look at how we shot a full live show with a team of 3 people with Pocket 4K and Pocket 6K cameras. I used music from Audio Socket in this video. Click my referral link in the video description and use the code ROBELLIS when you sign up for a free month of the best and most diverse range of stock music available. I use ArtGrid for stock footage. Get an extra 2 months free when you sign up using the link in the video description. And don't forget, you can use my code ROBELLIS over at Zyro to get up to 68% off on 1 year, 2 year and 4 year plans when building your website.